You are listening to the B2B Marketing Mindset with Pete Monfre and Bill Lowell. We want to help demystify marketing to reduce risk, drive more and better opportunities, and grow your business. Are you ready to master marketing?
Hey, it's 2024, and I am your host, Pete Monfre. My co-host, Bill Lowell, is on vacation still, so hopefully he'll come back. Boy, the music is all over the place in my ear for some reason. But let's get right into the B2B Marketing Mindset, shall we? I'm Pete Monfre, like I said. He couldn't be here today, but we usually talk about the weather a little bit, so we'll continue that tradition here in 2024. So I'm broadcasting from sunny Austin, Texas, and as you know, he's in Wisconsin, and it's freezing there. But everybody from Wisconsin and California and all over the country, they're moving to Austin because it's sunny and beautiful every day. So let's take a look at what we've got out there today. See, here's what it looks like right now. So don't believe the hype. Don't come here. We're full. Anyway, seriously, it's 2024, and 2 years after the illegal and immoral COVID shutdown, guess what? The market has changed. Everything's changed in every market, every industry, every size company, at least the ones that survived. If you're still going to market essentially the same way you did in 2019, or for some of you, 1957, this year's theme, I think, is adapt or die. Everything's changed, and so you have to change as well. And what that means is different, I think, for every company. But I'm going to show you 5 must-do marketing initiatives for 2024. But first, you'll find this podcast in a lot of different places. But if you're listening to it just in audio out there in podcast land, there's a lot more valuable content at b2bmarketingmindset.com. Or maybe you're seeing it on LinkedIn. b2bmarketingmindset.com. That's where you want to subscribe, because we include a lot of information that we don't include necessarily in the little short 30 minutes that we have here. So if you're on Apple Podcasts, or you're on Amazon, or you're on Spotify, or whatever, great. Subscribe there, but go to b2bmarketingmindset.com. Subscribe there too. We do an episode every week, and we have some amazing guests coming, and so you don't want to miss the program. So on to the topic at hand, shall we? My number one thing, stop worrying so much about technology. All right? It's not really about technology. Marketing never has been. It's about psychology, if anything, and maybe some other ologies. But the shiny object syndrome has to stop. The platform, and now we can do this, and we've got this technology and AI, that, and all this stuff. In reality, if you're a mid-sized company, small to mid-size, and you look at what you're doing from a marketing standpoint, there's a pretty good chance that you're not doing a lot of real fundamental things. Like email is actually a huge trend. Printed mail is becoming a big trend. Generally, AI, there's kind of a pushback against it, where companies that are more authentic, there's almost a trend to not use AI coming. So it really isn't about technology. It's about the problems you solve and for whom. That's what buyers want to hear about, is how you solve the problems that they have, right? Remember, there's a video we did a year ago or so that's called Nobody Cares About You. And it sounds kind of cold, but nobody cares, right? They care about themselves. That's what they care about. This is what buyers care about, themselves, right? Their problems, their issues. We've got an errant earpiece here that's making me crazy. That's what they care about. And so that brings us to the next thing. Get inside your customer's new head. All right, so maybe you've been inside the customer's head before. You've looked around and you learned some things, but maybe that was a while ago. Everybody's head is in a different space post-COVID. The buying habits are different. The behaviors are different. And I'm talking B2B. I mean, it's across all industries, B2C, B2B. People buy differently now. And so your customer has a new head. And so what are the problems they're facing today? So getting inside their head, what does that mean practically? Survey them. Survey your customers. When's the last time you had a third party anonymous survey to your customers to find out how they perceive of you, what their buying criteria is, what their top problems are, whether they'll refer you or not. Lots of things you can learn from your customers. So get inside their head and build your marketing all around what they care about, not what necessarily you care about, which could be the last slide, technology. Maybe that's what you care about. Your customer just cares about solving their problem. If technology is the way to do it, that's a means to an end. But businesses buy. So my great sales trainer, Amy Harden, taught me businesses buy to solve pain, to get rid of pain. And that's the only reason they'll spend money. And so how do you align with that? Are you, do your customers still have the same exact problems they had pre-COVID? If you haven't asked them, I don't know, it's a riskier proposition. Along the same lines, refresh your market intelligence. So a lot of companies have gone out of business. A lot of new ones have started. A lot of new technologies, lots of things happening in the market. And so when is the last time that you did an organized trip through your 5 top competitor websites? I'm talking minimal customer competitive intelligence. Probably a long time. When's the last time you went and visited your own site? When is the last time you put them side by side together on 20 different criteria and scored each one and gave them a threat score? Oh, wait, that's what we do. That's how we do competitive analysis. But you can just look around and get a refresh your state of market intelligence. If you want to do it right, we're happy to help with that, or any qualified marketing person can help you do a competitive analysis of the type that you need. Because remember, there's different kinds, right? If you're developing a product, you're going to be looking a lot more at features and pricing and tiers and all kinds of product related marketing, where if you're doing demand generation or something like that, you're going to be looking at message, and you're going to be looking at how they go to market and where they're not going to market very well, where the places where they're weak that you could exploit and do better than them. You're going to look at different things depending on the type of intelligence that you're doing. But if you haven't done it for a while, it's just a very good time to do that. If you don't know where to begin on that, get a hold of myself or Bill Lowell, our co-host who couldn't make it today, from Business Development Directives. They do a lot of research, and so they can certainly help you get inside your customer's head and figure out what your competition is doing. Reevaluate your strategy if you haven't already. I feel like it's almost late to say this at this point. This is where pivoting comes in to effect, where people are changing the way that they're adapting to the marketplace. That a lot of times requires a pivot. And I think this may apply to you if you feel like you've beaten your head against a wall. You're still basically going to market the same way that you did 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 years ago. If you're still, if it's still fundamentally the same and it's not working. I mean, if it's fundamentally the same and it's working, then great, don't do anything. But if it isn't working, you got to step back. You got to find that discipline to step back and ask all the same questions that you're probably asking all the time. But get teams together and ask all those questions in a compressed period of time and make decisions, and then map those decisions out for a year. Write it down, all right? So this is the thing. Everybody can have a plan, or you can have a team that has 15 different plans, right? And that's all trying to run at once, creating all kinds of dissidence and friction, and or you can, and it's also spread out over time, right? Because you have these meetings and it gets spread out and everything takes forever and people aren't available, and it gets to be this big nebulous thing. Reevaluate how you go to market, your marketing strategy, and then write it down. Pull, maybe there, out of those 15 different heads, there's 10 really good ideas, but pull all that information out and do that in a compressed period of time. If you're curious about that, let me know. This is kind of what we do to create the marketing plan. You may have a strategy, but if it's not a plan yet, And Alex Nesbitt is going to come on the program, and we're going to talk about the difference between strategies and plans. So you might have the strategy in your head, but until it's in some kind of format that a team can deal with, it's not a plan. And it's impossible to execute without a plan of some kind. I don't know why this is such a common frustration with companies. It's like they're doing all these different marketing related things, all tactics, but they're frustrated that they're not really working, or they can't tell, or they're not sure. They're not sure what to do, because they think it's broken, but they just don't know the nature of it well enough to say, what about our SEO, or what about our advertising now that it's become so complicated, right? Or if you're a type of company that does programmatic advertising, it starts to get very complex, and so it also develops a type of inertia where it stays the same for a long time. And so it's really backing up. Don't stop what you're doing. This is a common misperception. If you decide to reevaluate your strategy, you do stop everything you're doing. You don't. You have to do these at the same time, where you're asking all the questions, maybe since that you asked from the start of the company, but certainly the ones that you're mired in all the time. So you organize that, do it in a couple of sessions, and lay that plan out and make those decisions for the year, map that out, assign responsibilities, and then execute. So a lot of companies have a hard time executing. I hear that a lot. And it's really because they might have a strategy, but they don't have the plan yet. So reevaluate your strategy and get it down in writing. Have a plan. Bring in expertise if you don't have it. Bring in specialized marketing expertise as needed. This is the cool thing about the virtual marketplace of ideas now. Virtually any kind of specialized expertise is available out there that you can bring in on an on-demand basis. And I'm not talking just about subject matter experts. I'm talking about people like facilitators. This used to be the reign of sort of big companies, but the use of skilled facilitators, and I would consider myself a facilitator. We work with a lot of teams, and we facilitate the conversation and the direction of things. We don't necessarily come and say, hey, we know here's how you should do business, or here's the answer, that sort of thing. It's more like we facilitate a process. We know the questions to ask, and we know what other companies have done and what their answers have been. And so we facilitate that team conversation around those specifics. And so a lot of companies don't know that there's a role or people that do that you could bring in a facilitator. Let's say you're going to do a marketing plan. It's great to have a facilitator there. You get the subjective third-party look. You get somebody who's not sort of indoctrinated and inoculated with the culture and the belief systems and everything that goes on with the bias of your own company, looking at what's the expression, the forest for the trees, or I had somebody tell me about the frog in the well, and I don't know how well this is known. This maybe is obscure, or maybe everybody's like, I heard it a million times, but it's this. Somebody told me this many years ago, and of course I was like, the frog? And are we talking about frogs now? But they said, have you heard of the frog in the well? And I said, no. And they said, well, it's the frog in the well sees only the well. Now, I don't know if this was Confucius or somebody else, but that's how it was phrased. The frog in the well knows only the well, but the frog that sits on top of the well, I'd imagine on that little brick thing that goes around the well, he sees the whole world, okay? And what that's getting at is the perspective of outsiders and how they can see the problems of your business very, very fast. And we have this trouble at Clarity Marketing Support a lot. It's hard to see ourselves, like we're so close to it. We've often brought in marketing experts, people smarter than us, to help us with our work. And we've worked with facilitators. We've done research. We're just actually launching a research initiative about our own company pretty soon. So maybe some of you will see that. And so it's a very common thing to do. And there's just so much expertise available out there. I mean, it's just incredible. And the marketplace for that and ideas. And so these things get inside the customer's head, refresh your market intelligence, reevaluate your strategy, bring in specialized marketing expertise as needed. These are the things that there's a lot more high-tech things you could do. There's a lot more complicated things you can do. But these are some of the basic blocking and tackling of marketing. Now, if you already got this covered, then maybe this podcast is not that relevant to you. But I find for most companies, even companies that are fairly good size, we're talking 20, 30 million in revenue, if you really look closely at their people and processes, the information they're working from, you find that it's not as together as they think it is. One place this comes up a lot is in how they measure or attribute their the results from their marketing. So what piece of marketing is working? What is marketing doing? How do we attribute what brought in what business? There's all this controversy over this, and you can look more of that up or find more of it at marketingmindset.com, B2B because we talk about that a lot, and you can get lost in all of that stuff, or you can get back to the foundation and the fundamentals that you're actually probably not doing that well. Or we'll ask people about measurement or about KPIs, and a lot of times they can give a kind of a convincing answer, but when you come in as a consultant or a facilitator and you really kind of look at how things are being tracked or how things are being done, you find out they really don't have a very good idea of what's working and what's not and how it works together. And it's hard to admit sometimes, but there are people out there that just do this every day for a living, and they can very quickly pull together a lot of things that seem very elusive to you now, because they have, if they're good, they've got a framework that they might use with your team and facilitate them and work towards the answers and get the collaboration and the consensus going so that you can make decisions and then execute on that. So if you're here, let's should we run our final thoughts?
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. There's a lot of things that you could do in 2024. If you're not getting your team together and working through an organized process to make marketing decisions and reevaluate what you're doing, what you've been doing, what you're trying to do, is it aligned with your revenue goals? Is your marketing actually working for you? If you haven't gone through some kind of formalized process, you're probably missing a lot of value there. If you haven't updated your view of the marketplace since COVID, you're probably not seeing it clearly. There may be things that you need to adjust in your strategy, and you need to ask those questions again. And it's never been more doable. But if you're already doing all those things, then you can certainly graduate on to very complicated marketing things. But if you're not even doing those basic things, you're not able to say, hey, here's how many phone calls we got, or here's how many impressions, or whatever it is that you're trying to measure. I don't like measuring impressions, but whatever your metric of the day is, if you don't have a clean answer to that and a clear way to track that stuff, that makes sense. I'll give you an example. We were just looking at some email stats, and these stats, they didn't make sense. These are not numbers that you would see normally. I think that one was a 58% open rate and a 49% click-through rate on a 15,000 send, rare. It's just the numbers don't make sense. And so when you start to look closely and you kind of know what you're looking at, you can spot these patterns and these issues, and then you can fix those. And so I think as 2024 is coming, I'm thinking about things like really getting back to basics and not assuming that we have all the answers, and having an open mind towards, how do we adapt to the, to the post, I guess we'll call it the post-COVID economy, and the way that people want to buy. Now it's different. And I think you have to meet them where they buy. And we'll have a lot more on this in future episodes of the B2B Marketing Mindset. We do it every Thursday on LinkedIn without fail. And next week, my co-host Bill Lowell will be joining me. I should have looked and seen if there was a guest. We'll announce that if there is. And there are links in the comments, as always. And you can find us out there on the internet. We will see you next Thursday. I hope that these 5 ideas help you improve your marketing, make better decisions, and get a lot more for less. We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to the B2B Marketing Mindset with Pete Monfre and Bill Lowell. Add to the conversation by commenting, sharing, and liking. And don't forget to subscribe and check out the links in the comments. Learn more at b2bmarketingmindset.com.